Gondola, 821, Big 550, KTRS. Yes, this is her real name. Jen Dahl has written a book lots of people are waiting to read. It's called Save the Date, The Occasional Mortifications of a Serial Wedding Guest. Jen Dahl, welcome to the Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is my real name.
How many weddings have you been to?
In my actual full life, I've been to almost 30 at this point, but there are only 17 in the book because we had to keep it to less than 1,000-page book.
Did you change the names to protect the guilty?
Yes, and except probably the most guilty person is me, and my name is my name. But yeah, other names and certain identifying characteristics have been changed because obviously no one invites you to their wedding thinking you're going to go and write a book about it.
Did you take notes with all these weddings? How did this book come about?
With weddings, it's funny. There are a lot of photographs taken, and it's sort of a heightened emotional state, and you remember things a lot better. I did not record conversations at the weddings, but I did write in a journal after a lot of them, certain details. And I went back and talked to some of the brides and grooms and made sure that my facts were still pretty accurate. It's also a book about my memories, so there's some aspect of, this is what we remember, and that's important too.
You also talk about bringing dates to weddings, and it's kind of, especially if you're kind of dating someone new, what should you do? Should you invite them to the wedding or not?
I think it really depends. I think that there's something really freeing and wonderful about going to a wedding without a date, especially if it's someone you're just starting to see. I do think that adults should generally be invited with dates and given that option because, especially if you have to travel for a wedding, it's kind of a pain if you can't bring someone. But I think that depending on your relationship status, you shouldn't feel bad about going without a date. Sometimes that's the most fun you can have.
I like going without a date. I like to try and test drive some of the bridesmaids.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you tell he's single still, Jen? He is still single.
Jen,
I mean, you can do that with the single guys, too.
Right?
That's right.
There you go.
Exactly, Jen.
Yeah. So my issue with weddings is they're all exactly the same. It's the chicken dance, it's the first dance, it's the cutting of the cake, it's the smushing of the face of the cake. There's nothing original in weddings anymore, and you actually try and do something original, and other women are like, no, I have to have my moment. Weddings have been ruined, I think.
I disagree.
Well, I don't know. I think, the weddings that I have gone to have been varied and different in a nice way, mostly. I do think that there are certain traditions that people stick to, and they're kind of obnoxious or off-putting, like making single women prance out and catch a bouquet and stuff like that. But, destination weddings and weddings on farms and weddings at camp. Have you never been invited to that kind of wedding?
Destination weddings are we're going to go to the beach. We don't really want you to go unless you're going to spend a fortune, so just send a gift. That's a destination wedding.
See, you're sounding a little bitter now, McGraw. I agree with Jen because all weddings are different, but they do have their, traditions.
The book is called Save the Date, The Occasional Mortifications of a Serial Wedding Guest. Jen Dahl, the author. Jen, how many of these stories involve alcohol?
Probably too many. But, a dry wedding, I'm sorry. I think that might be the worst thing of all. You've got to have some alcohol at a wedding, right?
You got to get through it somehow.
I do, I do drink a lot at weddings. I think most people do, and sometimes they over-imbibe. But in telling the stories of the weddings I've been to, alcohol has played a role, and sometimes it has been a not very good role, but I have tried to reflect on those moments and go forward with the next weddings in my life, making sure I at least drink some water in between every glass of wine.
My sisters say, all of them are married, or I guess 4 of the 5 are married, say that if they had to do it over again, they would have rather have taken the money in check or cash form and put it in the bank.
They could also have gotten married at City Hall, and that would have been fairly inexpensive probably, right?
Right. No, no, they all wanted to spend the money, but once they spent the money, they all, at some point later in their life said, I wish I had that money for whatever else.
Yeah, a down payment on a house or something.
Right,
like
yeah.
that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Jen, out of all the weddings that you have attended, how often have you been a bridesmaid?
I've been a bridesmaid, I believe 2 times, and I've been a maid of honor once. So, yeah, with those you end up spending even more money generally, getting the right dress, and I'm officiating a wedding in September as well.
Hmm.
That'll be.
Is there one wedding that you're like, this is just the most awesome wedding ever, or a wedding that's been like the worst?
There has been so many really lovely ones. I mean, I think you might get the idea that my book is a snarky kind of expose on weddings, and it's not. It's really about the kind of love and gathering that the things that bring people together at weddings. That's really special, although the weddings themselves can be problematic depending on if people get a little overexcited about some of the details as opposed to the real relationships of the day. But I think the worst one was one where I behaved badly, where I got too drunk and ended up making out with not 1 or 2, but 3 different men. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's in the book. So,
So you were test driving a couple of men.
I told you I did.
Yeah. Yeah, good thing. Good thing you and I never hooked up in a marriage.
Well, I don't know. Which weddings have you been to?
Jen, are you married, Jen?
I am not married.
Okay. So here's my $64,000 question. The book is Save the Date: The Occasional Mortifications of a Serial Wedding Guest. Jen Dahl. This book's getting a lot of attention. Simon & Schuster published it. It's going to be all over the place this summer.
It's actually Penguin, but yeah.
Penguin.
Hopefully it'll be all over the place.
Movie. Anybody call about a movie rights?
Not yet. If movie rights people are listening, I'd love to talk to you.
Okay, that's one. 2, of the 30 weddings you've attended and the 17 or so weddings that you mentioned in the book,
Mm-hmm.
how many of the girls or the women or the men do you still keep in contact with?
I think probably 95% of them.
Oh, that's really good.
That is good.
Quite a lot. Although there's one, for example, when I was 8 years old, it was sort of distant family members. I don't keep
Sure.
in touch with them. And there's another thread through the book that involves a friendship that I don't have anymore, unfortunately, and I don't stay in touch with them. But most of them, yeah, they haven't disowned me yet.
Are they all still married?
Yeah.
Most of them, yeah.
Oh, all right.
Not
There's
Interesting.
maybe one divorce.
All right. That's a pretty good track record.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Jen Dahl can also officiate your wedding for you this summer for
Yes.
$4.99 at a destination. The book is
I would
called,
happily.
there you go, Save the Date, The Occasional Mortifications of a Serial Wedding Guest. Jen Dahl. Jen, thanks for a great conversation. Good luck with the book.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. Save the Date, The Occasional Mortifications of a Serial Wedding Guest. Jen Dahl here on the Big 550 KTRS.